All right, guys, welcome back. I'm here with Thayer, a good friend of mine. We ended the last video just getting into how you got into wholesaling and kind of how I got into wholesaling too, because when I moved out to North Carolina, I had no idea what my role would be in the wholesaling business. It was just kind of a dream of a dream my friend Eric came up with of let's open a wholesaling business out in Raleigh, North Carolina. And I just said, done. And I packed my stuff, moved out here. The second weekend I was here, you had a huge coaching program back then. Mm-hmm. You were one of the biggest names in wholesaling. I look at you as kind of an OG because when I came on, you had all this wealth of knowledge and I wanted it. And we went to your accelerator weekend where I met a lot of people there that I still stay in contact with today, actually.
Yeah.
But I had never done a deal, had never made a phone call, didn't know anything. I was super green. But came to your event, met you, met your team, met a bunch of great people there. Me and Eric came there, and I learned so much that weekend, and that kind of gave me my base of starting into the business. But you've done millions of dollars in renovations and new builds and wholesaling. So we went over that in the last video of how you got to this point, but why don't you give us kind of your beginning stages of wholesaling, kind of how it got started, why did you want to do it, and then I'm sure that progresses into how you got into coaching and all that.
Yeah, so I mean, that kind of goes back to when we started building again. We were also doing flips. And so 2012 comes around, and I wanted to start finding properties. And I told you about the streets and all that stuff, but we're also doing flips. So we started doing direct mail from the same program that taught me about private money, taught me about marketing, because I never had to really do marketing other than putting signs in the yard prior to that. But we just started doing direct mail. I remember direct mail, you throw out 1,000 letters and get 10, 15 deals. It was crazy. And maybe a trickle effect of other ones from, over time. Now you can send out 10,000 and be lucky if you get one.
Right.
With massive follow-up and everything else. So yeah, we were doing some direct mail, getting deals. And then, so we had that whole thing going on. And what I would do is, I learned about wholesaling at that same program that taught me all these things. So wholesaling, so we would wholesale deals that we didn't want. I never considered myself wholesalers, but we were marketing, we were taking leads, we were closing deals, and mostly for ourselves. And it would be a couple of different things. We had properties, I'm like, maybe we had too much going on. I need to get rid of some of these, or it's too far out, or I don't really want to do this one for whatever reason. Or I remember several times we would close on a deal and someone would reach out to us and offer us more money. I can't tell you how many times that would happen. Literally, I'm like, okay, we'll make, and it didn't even make sense because I'm like, okay, we'll make, $40,000 on this quick flip. And someone offers me $40,000 more than I paid for it and I just closed on it. I'm like, okay,
that's great.
Peace, deuces. Yeah. So we had the marketing, sales, acquisitions already going, and I got to the point where I'm like, you know what? As far as buying new builds, we just got to the point where we were taking on neighborhoods. So we weren't really marketing to those neighborhoods. What we were doing is finding out who owned all the properties in that area and just going directly to them. So it was kind of marketing, but it wasn't the blanket marketing that we were doing for flips. Our new builds were going so well, we didn't want to do flips anymore because it seemed like flips is we would spend so much time, money, and energy for a small
And there's
amount.
a lot of surprises in a flip. We were talking about it earlier before we started filming, where when you're doing a new build, once the foundation's done, you know exactly what you're going to spend, and you know exactly what it's going to go on the market for. Whereas a flip, which has happened to me a few times, I think I'm just going to do a lipstick rehab, 30, 40 grand, and it turns into 70, 80 grand.
Yeah.
Because, that's probably my fault. But there is a lot of surprises that come up. You pull up the floor, you go to put a new floor in, subfloor's rotted out. All right, let's replace the subfloor.
Yeah.
Oh shit, the joists are rotted out. Let's replace the joists. But with a new build, it's all brand new shit.
Yeah.
Right? So that I think a lot of people go that route. Like we wholesale a lot of deals to a lot of big flippers. And then it seems like a couple years down the line, they're like, send me tear downs and land deals because I just want to build new. Like that seems like the progression. Yeah. So you're getting into neighborhoods, you're doing new builds. And that's the beautiful thing about wholesaling or just being direct to seller is you can make money however you want. Yep. Like somebody like you who kind of started it just to get your own deals and you're like, I'll just wholesale on the side. Like I was kind of the opposite where it's like, I'm going to make a business out of signing contracts. But then after a year of that, I was like, well, now I'm going to cherry pick the ones I want to flip or buy and hold or something. So it's like no matter where you're at in this real estate journey, as long as you're direct to seller, and I always say this to all the big flippers and builders that I deal with, it's like, why don't you guys just go direct to seller and have like a small little wholesaling business and just wholesale the deals you don't want and keep the ones you do? Like direct to seller, you could just make money on almost every single deal.
Yeah, I agree with that. So when we decided to go straight, because like we're making 30, 40 grand, 50 grand on a flip, but we're making six figures on a new build and they're not taking much more time. But once you get that momentum and you get things going, you constantly have builds selling. So I'm like, screw the flips. We're done with that. But I'm like, oh, hold on a minute. But we were marketing for flips. What are we going to do with that? I'm like, well, we've been wholesaling 10, 12 deals a year. Of deals that we don't want, keeping all the rest. Why don't we just start a wholesaling company? Mm-hmm. So I think that was like 2016, 17, maybe early 16 going into 17. We decided that we were just going to open up a wholesaling operation. So that's what we did. So there was no kind of like direction or playbook or all that. We just kind of figured everything out and tripped and made mistakes and built the whole thing up. But I mean, we were doing very well. I mean, when the last year that we had everything going on, we had 12, 15 salespeople. We were constantly knocking out deals throughout all of North Carolina. I expanded in different states, and I said, you know what, let's hone. There's so much opportunity right here in North Carolina. We just focused on North Carolina. But then I just got to a certain point in my life where I was just like, I didn't want to deal with salespeople. I didn't want to deal with any, and I just said, you know what, one day, shut it. We just closed it.
Yeah.
And we just focused on new builds.
Yeah, it's funny because it does seem like a lot of people, wholesaling can be a high-paying job that you create for yourself. It's a hustle, it's a grind. There's a lot of complications with getting deals closed.
Yep.
It's a lot of headaches, and then you're dealing with a team of 12, 15, 20 people with 12, 15, 20 different issues, not only with your team, but also with the distressed sellers and the buyers that can't get their hard money on time, and title work that is a complete disaster because of the distressed seller and the distressed house, and bigger rehabs than you thought. I mean, it's a lot of fucking work, and you can get burned out. I mean, you wholesaled a long time. And, we just sold our wholesaling company, our acquisitions company. After 3 years, we did 413 deals for, $8.3 million in assignment fees in 3 years. But dude, you know how much work it takes to do that in 3 years?
Yeah.
It will
a lot.
It will burn you
I do.
out. Yeah, you do.
I mean, I didn't do that in 3 years, but I mean, I know what it takes. Yeah, it's a lot of work.
But when you have a skill set of either coaching or doing new builds or a combination of both, it's like, all right, maybe I don't need a team of 20 people. I don't need this huge wholesaling company. I can teach people that are doing it with small teams or out of their spare room where they can get financial freedom, and I can focus on the new builds that I really enjoy doing and I'm good at, that make money, and I can teach, whatever I want on any type of scale, right? So when you got into the wholesaling 2016, 2017, at what point did you decide I want to teach this? And how long did you do the coaching for specifically wholesaling?
Yeah, so I also around that same time, or maybe a little bit before, by accident started running this event called Tab Retreat. It started off where I wanted to hang out with a bunch of like-minded individuals in Mexico. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, hey guys, we're going out here. Here's an event. Or it wasn't an event. There was no stage and speakers and all that. It was almost like a mastermind. that's what it was, a mastermind. And we would hold sessions we had a big villa.
Whatever I'm talking about in this video, I'm sure it's good information. If you guys want to learn more about wholesaling real estate, I created a free course called See You at the Top. The link is in the description so you guys can start taking action with zero money down, learn for free, and get started in wholesaling real estate. Now let's get back to the video.
Down there, and just a bunch of people came, and it was just going to be a one-time thing. This wasn't a business. And it was like, when we got down there, people were like, oh man, I wish I would have been able to come to this one. I couldn't come for this reason. I can't wait for the next one. And people, while we're there, hey, when's the next one? So I'm like, okay, let's do something. So then the next one was actually an event, stage, speakers, all that. And there was no call to action. It was just an event. To me, it was a good time. Hanging out with great people, just networking, meeting people, all that. And then it got to the point where people would see what I was doing and they were saying, hey, how do you do this? How do you do this? So it kind of like became a request to start coaching. Right. So that's how I started coaching. And then we got really good at it. And I'm very system orientated and detailed, and really like to, I'm very organized, OCD. My contractor's like, oh, Mr. OCD's coming on site. It's a big joke. But that I was able to put together a very streamlined program that I was able to teach, and people were able to take from there. And we had calls and other events, and like the one that you went to. And so it just kind of turned into all this stuff. But then I think I got burnt out. I'm creeping up on 50 now. And I'm just like, I just want simplicity. Yeah. I don't want to travel. I don't want to do all this stuff. And so,
well, especially with the events. Events can take a lot out of you. Exhausting. And I know a lot of people that have been in Mexico at your events, or Jamaica. I think you had one.
Yeah, Jamaica.
And Jamaica. I mean, everybody has so much good stuff to say about it. Like whenever I'm at an event, I run into somebody because they know we're friends, and they're like, oh yeah, I know Terry. I went to one of his tab retreats, and it's like everybody just loves him. Yeah. I mean, what a cool mastermind, to be at a beautiful place around like-minded individuals. I mean, and all the speakers you have had that I've seen have been really good, doing shit, good value. But I could imagine, which happens at any mastermind with high level people, is the connections you make at these events and the conversations you have outside of listening to a speaker are just as valuable, if not more valuable, than the actual event itself. You know, it's the community.
That is exactly
and just being around the right people too. And I have the reason I went into coaching was kind of similar, where I was at a mastermind a couple years ago, and I spoke to this small group of 50 people about my disposition process for maybe 10 minutes. Like, because people kept asking questions, and I was like, well, let me just get up and explain what I'm doing right now. And then after I did that, out in the lunchroom and afterwards at the mixer, everybody was running up to me like, how can I hop on a call with you? How can you hop on a Zoom with my team? How can we? And I was like, well, shit, let me put a Zoom together for everybody. Yeah. And I'll just have everybody come on a Zoom, and I'll explain my process for a couple hours. And this is when I had like 1,100 followers on Instagram. I was pretty new in the wholesaling space, not even quite a year into it. And I put a link out there saying, everybody sign up for this Zoom coaching call. It's on this day, a week from now, for 2 hours. It's $2.99. If I register and pay the $2.99, I'll spend 2 hours with you, answer any questions you have, and go over my process. And I think 97 or 98 people signed up for it. And I was like,
that's amazing.
Not only is this crazy, I'm giving a ton of value, but it's a business, But with any business, the more you grow and the more intricate it gets, I mean, you can definitely get burned out on it. But some people either have to keep doing it because it's the only thing they have, or, there's a lot of situations why people stay in the wholesaling business or in coaching. But people like you, over these last two videos, I mean, you've talked a lot about building new houses, and it's something you've done for a long time. You're a master at it. And now, like, I was on a Zoom with you a couple weeks ago where now you're starting to teach the new builds,
Yeah.
right? Which is a cool little niche that I don't think anybody really teaches.
I don't know why I didn't do that years ago.
Yeah.
The whole thing with the coaching, the way I used to do it, it just got out of control where I felt like I was never home. I was just constantly at a mastermind, at an event, on a podcast, doing my own events. It was just exhausting, and I just wanted to simplify things. And so moving forward, it's a different layout, but all we're doing right now is focusing on new construction. I started bringing in some flips again, and we did some flips, and I'm just like, why? Like every time I'm just like, why?
Yes.
It's like I'm gonna do all this work for this much money.
Yeah.
It makes zero sense. I don't need to stay busy.
Yeah.
Like I'd rather, hang out with my kids and my family and
Yeah.
go on vacations and have memories than
Right.
do a fucking flip.
Right.
So we just focus on new construction. We actually do a little bit of contracting too.
Yeah.
So we have some ads out, and we'll do, siding, windows, doors. Like it's just stuff that takes zero effort. For
Yeah,
me.
and you know it so well.
Yeah, and I
It's
just send a contractor
I'm
over
sure
there.
it
Why
doesn't.
not?
I'm sure it doesn't seem like work.
No, it's
'cause
not work.
It's
And new
secondhand.
construction's not work at all.
Yeah.
To me.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way about, like, we had Skip Matrix, the owners of Skip Matrix, in here yesterday doing podcasts and interview stuff and testimonials, and they're so like, here's all the questions we're going to ask you for the website. Do you want to study them? Like, you want to rehearse them? And I'm like, I know what I'm going to, like, I do this shit every day.
Yeah,
It's not work to me. It's not hard for
If you
me.
have to study and
Just ask me a question. I'll answer it,
Exactly.
And then I did. And they're like, well, that was better than we could have ever scripted.
But hold on,
And I'm
let's talk about this for a minute.
Yeah.
Because how many people actually do need to study and rehearse that shit?
well, it's people that aren't doing it every day.
Exactly.
And that's the point of, like,
All the
you
gurus.
sending a contractor, doing what you're doing now with the new builds. It doesn't seem like work. It's not hard because you know it so well. I'm sure
Yeah.
it doesn't seem like work,
No.
So I want to get into that on the next video on what you're doing, your program. Like I said, I hopped on that Zoom with you. It was your first Zoom where you were explaining the program. And I remember getting off that call and I was like, holy smokes, like, nobody's doing this. It's another progression in real estate, whether you're flipping or you're wholesaling, you're direct to seller, you're buying stuff, whatever it is a progression in your wholesaling journey. What should be your progression in your real estate journey. It's something that I strive to do when I move out to Arizona, is doing new builds, and my eyes have been opened from people like you doing it and Jerry Norton visiting him and seeing his new builds down in Puerto Rico. It's like, this is the answer.
Yeah.
As we've grinded so many, so much, and the wholesaling and flipping and all, and coaching and all this stuff. It's like, well, I want to do the same amount of money with not the same amount of work.
Exactly.
And that can be in
Work less, make more.
yeah, that could be a new build. So everybody, if you want to get a hold of Terry Thayer, we'll leave his Instagram link in the description, Terry Thayer II. And definitely go follow him. He's got a great program that we'll go over in the next video. So if you guys just watched this, make sure you watch the previous video where we talk about his journey and trannies and all sorts of stuff. And then in the video you guys are going to see next, we're going to go over his program, new builds, and what Terry's doing now. So Terry, thank you so much for doing this. It's been a lot of fun. And we'll see you guys on the next video.
See ya.
What's up, guys? Thanks for watching my video. If you'd like to watch more videos, my playlist is right here. And if you'd like to subscribe, click down here. I'll see you guys at the top.